Hey up guys, I've had a good look through all the parts I got with the car. I've sort of made a bit of a list to see what I need to get, and I've started to have a look at getting the engine running, so it's all good fun. Stick around, see how we get on. So we've got spare rear windows, because there's already rear windows in the car. Got the boot lid ready to go on. We've got the grille, we've got spare trims for all around the windows. We've got the front seats here, obviously bonnet. We've got spare exhaust because there's already exhaust on the car. We've got arch trims and whatnot here, but unfortunately they're the wrong colour, like Old English white, whereas we want the car's actually Ford Diamond white, I believe. So that's what we've got. We've got spare rubbers for the doors. In here we've got some nice bits. Engine breather, which is like newly powder coated. Also we've got clutch slave cylinder, door trims, just some bits of rubbish really. Clutch master cylinder, alloy rocker, some spare door handles, various bits and bobs. Then we've got, obviously there's no brakes on the car, so we got the disputing or bias valve, whatever it's called here. Some knackered old brake lines off the rear subframe. And then what have we got in this tub? An interior trim, headlight bulbs. To be honest, there wasn't much good with the car. These calipers are absolutely ruined. I will not be putting them back on the car because I could sandblast them and put them all back together with new seals and whatnot, but chances are they're not going to be any good. So heater matrix needs to go back in the car. Locking strips for front and rear windscreens. Then we've got the servo, brake servo, ready to go in. Bracket for the clocks because they're just loose. What else have we got in here? Number plate light for the boot lid. This is the colour it was, a horrible purple metallic flake in there. And then just some crappy nuts and bolts and bits. Fortunately I have got all the gear for the bonnet catch there because I thought that was going to be missing, so that's all we've got. So I'm going to make a bit of a list of what we need and get some bits ordered from Mini Spares. Chokes on.
Has it got a mechanical fuel pump? Yes, it has.
Push that in there for us. Is it on properly? Is it pushed in the cap properly?
It is now.
I'll try that then.
Wedge it against the thing.
No, that's right, I'll hold it.
Sure.
Yeah. Try that.
See what?
Go on. No spark.
Okay. Leave that off.
Give it a buzz. What am I supposed to? Plenty of petrol.
Yeah, it looks brown. I'll just... Petrol might be accurate. Smoke, you see it? It's brown. Okay.
Okay. Okay, so for anyone who doesn't know much about minis or engines in general, a couple of things you need. Obviously, you're going to need fuel, you're going to need air, which is obvious, you're going to need spark, and generally that will get your engine going. So spark, obviously coming from your distributor, which is sending it out via the caps to your spark plugs, down the HT leads, and then you've got your coil, which is basically sending it power to your distributor. So that's your ignition system basically, and if there's any fault in that, you're not going to get your spark at your spark plug. So in some of the clips you'll see me holding a spark plug against earth. If you hold your spark plug against earth it against the engine and you turn the engine over, it should be sparking as it would in the engine. If it's not, trace it back. If it's sparking at the distributor cap, then you know that there's a problem with the HT leads or the spark plug itself. So you can change either of those, see if that fixes it. Failing that, there's no spark at the distributor cap. You can check the corrosion on the terminals inside the distributor cap, which I'll just show you. Which is, pop those clips off either side, and that comes out. So inside there's metal connections, and basically as the rotor arm here, as that spins around, that sends a spark, touches each one of them, sends a spark up each HT lead. So you've got your points and your terminals in your points and your contacts, whatever it is in here. This is quite an old-fashioned, it's not electronic ignition. So as this turns, there's a square lobes on the distributor there. What that does is as that turns via the cranking of the engine, it opens and closes these little contacts here. As they open and close, they're supposed to create a spark. Well, you'll notice in some of the clips, there's no spark there. So I have to remove all of this, clean the contacts, I put it all back together, and there is a spark there then. So after that, I checked and there was spark at the spark plug. So that was all good. Next thing to check was fuel. So this has got a mechanical fuel pump on this car, which is down the back there. That's the mechanical fuel pump. And essentially what happens is there's a lobe on the camshaft, and as the camshaft goes round, there's basically a finger and that mechanical fuel pump goes in the back of the block. And as it goes round, the lobe on the camshaft activates it, and it creates almost like a vacuum, pulls the fuel down the line, then it hooks up into here, into the car. So easiest way to determine if there's fuel, whip that off, crank the engine over, some fuel should spurt out the end. So we've got spark, we've got fuel, air is obviously a given, so that should be enough to fire the car, even if it is pretty rough. You might need to check your static timing, but that's easy enough. Basically, if you line up your teeth down here, which isn't very easy to see, but if you line up the pulley, what I did was I took out number 1 spark plug, which on a Mini is 1's radiator end. I took out number 1, basically just put like a screwdriver in there, turned it up, and you can see the screwdriver going up and down, so you can align the marks, but you know it's at number 1's at top dead center. Basically your rotor arm, which is this thing, should be also pointing at what would be number 1 on there, so which is there, which goes up to number 1 spark plug. So once that's all good, you should know that that's sparking number 1 at top dead center essentially. So that should be enough to get your Mini started. And once we've done all of that, this one does start, which is great. So I'll give it a little start, and you can hear it run, which fortunately is really good.
Right, so let's see if it'll start for you.
There's no choke cable, so I'll just pull the choke on manually, which is like so. Battery's connected. I put some fresh fuel in the tank. Well, it won't start, will it? Because I took off the rotor cap. Is he cap even? Well, it's a good demonstration of if you have no spark, it won't start. Let's try that. So it runs. What I'll do is get the timing light, the proper timing light. There's no vacuum on this because the vacuum line was broke. I'm going to put new HT leads and new plugs in just to make everything as sweet as it can be. And it's going to want obviously an air filter because that's all going to affect the mixture and affect how it runs. And the vacuum line is going to affect it as well. So set the timing good, new spark plug to make sure the gap's right, and it should run pretty good. I think the carb might need a bit of tweaking because it only wants to run on choke at the moment, but at least we know it runs and it runs good, so that's a big bonus.